Whoa, hello, deconverted man here. That whoa was me responding to my fan going from low to high. Okay, so last year, we had this little blog entry from Adherent Apologetics, who I debated a while back. Anyways, um, and he had these 36 questions for atheists. He also had a video about it. So here's this little blog on it, and and I'll scroll down so you can see that this was February 15th, 2000 uh, 20. Well, that was the blog. Well, um, but the video of these questions was actually last year. So let me pull up that here and show you that. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So this is, says a year ago. You can see. Let me zoom in here because it's gonna be hard to see otherwise. Zip. Let's see. Where am I? Let's go all the way to the date made, if we can get there. Okay. So August 31st, 2019 is what he made this video, as you can see right here. There you go. And you know, the like to dislike ratio is pretty awesome, pretty amazing there. But anyways, so way back then I responded to it. So let's hey, I answered your questions. And I talked to my chat. You can skip that, of course, since it's at the end. Will you respond to my answers? Or is this just a thing you did not wanting answers or dot dot dot? And then here, and then of course he says, and then I link to my video. He says, "Hey, I'll check out your video. I love being challenged. So I'll do a formal response at some point. Probably will be a few months though, because another atheist wants a response, and he did a video earlier. You can email me, blah blah blah, if you want to talk more." Yeah, well, that was last year, and I think that this guy's got it. I love being challenged because you think you're winning constantly because you're either too young or too dumb to understand that you never do. I mean, he could be both. I mean, let's be fair. But the fact that he's young and or dumb doesn't validate his arguments. His arguments are validated because they're full of logical fallacies. But this was last year. Why do I bring it up? Well, because and then here's my video on it, just to show that yes, I um did do. eh, there we go. So here's my answer video to it. Uh, so this is a response to his video, blah blah blah. Bionic Dancer, he did a video on it. Um, and then I'm not really sure why I said the color of as lizard people from Pluto is purple like this red cup, but I'm sure that that was something that was relevant in the video. I'm not gonna rewatch my own. But anyways, this was last year, as you can see, November 2nd, 2019. And so why I bring this up is, well, one, it's been a year, and secondly, it seems that for whatever reason, he he let's see, hold on, oopsie. He was able to respond to a different YouTuber who has more subs than I do. That's great. Good on him. And he answered the 36 dumb questions for atheists this year, March 12th, and he linked to the blog. So to be fair, maybe he's responding to the blog, which was this year, but the same information is available in that video. So whether it's the video or the blog, it's the same questions, and I thought it was interesting that Adherent Apologetics would respond to a large YouTube channel, but you know, within mere months, or well, was not even within a month. It was very quick. Where was it? Let's see. Let me find it. Okay, when did he post this? Uh, Live streamed it 10 hours ago. So yeah, that was rather lately. So that would have been, let's see, the 16th of December. So not that far away from when that other bigger YouTuber um, responded to his video. So, and he had other people join him, no less, to respond to those answers. Now, look, I'm not saying that Adherent Apologetics did this just to get some views, you know. But I am saying that maybe I've waited enough months from when I did my response to get him to do look at my answers, which I suspect, without listening to that other larger YouTuber and listening to his answers, I strongly suspect our answers are going to be very similar. And reading through the responses to the original video, I doubt that Adherent Apologetics read those answers. Or really, I see very little to no interaction with that. It seems that he's able to and willing to respond to videos, but only from bigger YouTubers when he gets their attention. Um, of course, we had our debate, which because I didn't think about that he might do the shotgun tactic on me. It could have gone better, but he did the shotgun tactic, so I'm still a little bit miffed about that. And maybe he feels like he got smashed in that one, so maybe he's been avoiding me. I don't know, or maybe my answers were more difficult to handle. No, I don't know, but the answers that are given are pretty much the same for most of the atheists that respond to these questions. And the questions are just the typical questions that we've kind of come to expect from the apologist that is trying to defend uh, Christianity, or trying to defend a particular type of belief system. And this is this sort of thing is not information seeking. These questions are not designed to actually get the answers. I just don't see that. I wish I could grant the surety of it, of saying, well, he really wants to know what we think, but I just don't think that that's the case. I really don't. And so it's been a year, so I don't know. Maybe my answers are changed. I doubt it. So atheism is changing. Now he starts this off. This is interesting. So atheism is changing. It is really. Many people believe that an atheist is someone who does not believe God exists. Well, that's because we that call ourselves atheists have been saying that's what it is for quite some time. Well, some atheists will make this claim. Most atheists, especially new atheists, and this thing with new atheists, the thing is, there aren't any. Oh, new in terms of what that they're just speaking up for the first time, or after the events of 9/11 is when all these atheists came to the public, so to speak. Hitchens and Dawkins and others said enough's enough, we gotta speak out. And then at some point somebody started calling them the new atheists, and that's kind of stuck. I don't really think that there's anything new about what they're saying in terms of responding to the theist, but that movement did spur on perhaps the creation of many of the apologetic movements. So we've created our own worst enemy in some regards. Although I think William Lane Craig would have still come around either way. But anyways, will not make this claim, especially the line of claim epistemologically. Most atheists today will say that they just lack a belief in the existence of God. It's the same thing that not believing God exists. There really is a very little distinction between the two. Anyways, so I don't know why he mentioned that, because he said, with that being said, here are 36 questions for atheists. Why not just give the list? What's any of this matter? Anyways, why is there something rather than nothing? I don't know. Is there any evidence to suggest that the universe is eternal? No idea. If not, why do atheists hold on to the idea that you have debunked the Kalam cosmological argument? Because the Kalam cosmological argument is logically flawed and scientifically flawed. It's scientifically flawed because we don't know if there is a beginning, in the sense that you need a beginning for the Kalam to work. There are plenty of different competing theories about the T1 point and what happened before that, or if there is a before that, that are out there. We don't know which one is correct yet. That still has to be figured out. And this is where our math breaks down, and physics, as we understand it, we don't really know what's going on. And, some scientists think, well, maybe there was an antimatter universe that led to our universe, or, there's different ways of viewing it. And that if you don't have time, then there isn't a before, because there isn't time. So it's just nothing that you could speak of, not even nothing, because there isn't even that per se, but there's just boom, time, space. And you're like, well, but how? It's like, we don't know yet. No idea. But as far as the Kalam, it's broken because first it makes a universal statement that everything begins to exist, but you can't speak of an everything, because you don't know about an everything. You cannot make a universal claim without having demonstrable evidence that that universal claim is true. We can say all men are mortal because we have demonstrable evidence that that's true. Cannot say everything that begins to exist. One, because you don't know that. Secondly, because those words are ill-defined. So there's logical reasons as well as scientific ones. So we don't know that that's scientifically true. We don't know that's logically true. So it's been debunked in the sense that it's broken in logic. And I did a video called KCA, where I go over many of the problems of the Kalam. Somebody had a list of rebuttals to me that I need to go over with at some point. Um, I haven't gotten around to doing that because I was like, I feel like I'm done. But anyways, if so, why do the vast majority of scientists reject this idea? What? They reject what idea? That the universe is eternal? Because the universe, it depends what you mean about universe, but what scientists reject the idea that the universe is eternal? I don't know. So you're just saying that this is true, and I don't know that it is true. But even if it is true, it doesn't matter. Even if scientists accept or reject any given thing, that doesn't make it necessarily true, although it gives more credits to it. Well, why would you possibly deny biological evolution if we're going to go with this? So you then have to agree with biological evolution, because the vast majority of scientists agree with it, right? Well, do you? Maybe. Why is the universe so fine-tuned? It's not in the way that you would need it to be, but it assumes that there is a why rather than a how answer. This is the way things are. We don't know why they're this way. That's just the way it is. And the fine tuning, I think, more is made out of it than needs to be. I think that saying, well, but if these constants were different, then things would be different. Yeah, no duh. If it was different enough, then life as we know it wouldn't be. True, but life could still be. It just wouldn't be different life. Sure. But what if this one was way off? Then that means no life would be possible. Really? Do you know that? Well, yeah, what model do you have to show that that would be the case? Where's your universe simulator? So we don't have those, as far as I know. Nobody's ever tried to do that and show that, other than this particular set of values of the universe, nothing could ever have life. And it depends what life is, and that's hard to define as well. So it's another, we don't know. What's any of this got to do with anything? Why are you asking all the? I don't know the answer to these questions. Why do you think any atheist would know the answer to these questions? What does knowing or not knowing any of the answers mean to you? Does it mean, aha, I got you? You don't know the answer, therefore I have God as my answer. Aha, I win. Yeah, because the answer to all these is God for you. Is there something rather than nothing? Because God exists, but God's eternal, apparently. You know. Anyways, if your answer is the multiverse, why is there no evidence for that theory? There's things that suggest multiverse that I don't understand because I'm not a scientist. I'm not a cosmologist. Uh, I think that if there was a way to test it, we could test it. We could find it out and discover it. I don't know that we have the ability to do so yet. Um, I think it's an interesting idea. I don't know how solid it is, but that's not my answer. So I don't have. And then as far as why there's no evidence for that theory, I don't know that there isn't any. I don't know that that's actually true. It could be that there's evidence and I'm not aware of it. I have no idea. Is it possible there's no natural explanation for the origin of life? No, it is not possible that there is no natural explanation for the origin of life. That is to say, so he's asking, is it possible that there's no natural explanation at all for X? So the answer is no. All the explanations that there are will have to be ones that are natural. Why? Because you cannot explain things, scientifically speaking, unless you are speaking in naturalistic terms. Now, if by explanation you mean some way that seems to answer it, then you could say anything. You could say magic did it. You could say time travelers, which is not very natural. You could say anything, really. And the problem is, there's no way that I know of, or that I think anyone knows of, to eliminate all natural explanations from the table, anyways. And even if you somehow did, that doesn't mean that the explanation is not natural, because there might be something that you don't know about that explains it. So, no, unless you want to forgo science and logic and reason, which of course you would have to get to a supernatural explanation, then no, there is no possible explanation that's coherent for the origin of life. Okay? You don't know the answer to the origin of life, therefore God. That's what you're saying. Where does consciousness come from? Your brain. Simple. That's it. As I mean, why? But why would, again? Why would you think an atheist would know the answer to this? Why aren't you asking a neurologist or something? But even there, there's a lot of people that we don't know, or we don't fully understand it. But it seems to be a byproduct of the brain. But why are you asking the question? Why do you expect the atheist to know the answer to this? I don't know. Is pretty much been my answer for all of these. I have no idea. What does that mean to you? Does that mean, aha, I'm right? You think consciousness comes from God or your spirit or your soul? Well, then where does that come from? Well, that comes from God. Well, how does that work? Who knows? Do you lack a belief that God exists, or you say that God does not exist? Both. Uh, the generic term of God, I don't believe it exists. And then your particular God of Yahweh doesn't exist. Do you lack a belief Zeus does not exist? Zeus doesn't exist, and neither does Yahweh. So Zeus also gets the no category. If you lack a belief that why are you centuries behind the rest of the world, say Zeus doesn't that. Am I century behind that? There are some people that believe in Zeus, and this is an appeal to majority. Um, this isn't a way to determine what's true. It's like, oh well, everybody else agrees that this is the case. So look, if the rest of the world, if you were the only Christian in the entire world, would you say that Jesus didn't exist? Or would you say Jesus still existed? If everyone in the entire world disagreed with you, would you still say that you're right? You might, and you might in fact be right. So whatever the people say is wrong. Anyways, do you act according to what you believe in, or just lack of belief in? Both. So you do act according to what you believe to some extent, and then you do act according to what you don't believe in to some extent. So you know, I, but this is a weirdly phrased question. What evidence that the atheism corresponds with reality? Did you steal that from Shaka God? Atheism isn't the sort of that's not it's not it's not the sort of thing that look, I don't believe in God, so therefore that is real that I don't believe in God, so therefore atheism corresponds with reality. There's your answer. It's been answered before. Stop ripping off Shaka God. Is atheism worldview? No. If not, what is my worldview? Skepticism plus logic, in essence. I'm gonna write a book about it, maybe. I don't know. Buy my first. I'll tell you what, Adherent Apologetics. Buy my first book. Prove that you bought my book. Then read my book. Then give me a review of the book, thus proving that you've read it. Then answer my last year's answers that I already did, and answer this one just for bonus points. And then I'll tell you my full worldview without making you buy a book that I may or may not write. What would convince you that God exists? Well, empirical evidence, a repeatable test, or a valid and sound argument. You don't have any of those. So, and of course, God could do it very simply right now. God could enter my stream, say hi, Decover man, how's it going? What's up? He could make my computer levitate off the table. That would be pretty convincing. But what would really, truly, for me, convince me would not be a personal thing. It would have to be more than that. It would have to be worldwide, the entire world, to see and hear God simultaneously in such a way that nobody could be mistaken of what it is or how it functions. That God just say, "Hi, this is how I work and who I am and what I want from you guys." Although, why God would want anything from us since it's God is beyond me. It's like, you're God. You don't need anything from us. You are everything. So, what does God need? What's a star set? But anyways, for God itself to say that it exists to the entire world would be pretty convincing. But God's apparently going to do that eventually at the end of the world, right? Anyways, are you willing to follow that evidence even though it leads to different understanding of how the universe works? Yes. Wherever the evidence leads, you follow. If Jesus rose from the dead, would you become a Christian? No, because that doesn't. Even if you could somehow prove it, it wouldn't prove Christianity is true. If you wouldn't become a Christian, why would you ever accept that he rose from the dead? Because if it was proven to be a fact, I would accept it regardless of anything else. So whatever the fact is, I would accept it. You can't show that it's fact, but if it is somehow you did, I don't think I'd become. It doesn't mean that Christ is anything. It means it's interesting. It's like, hey, this guy rose from the dead. That's really weird, huh? Well, what are you gonna make about that? I don't know. Well, that's cool. There have been people that came back, quote, from the dead, end quote, in our modern day and age. Now, granted, they had medical technology at their disposal, but still, they were technically dead to some extent. Maybe it's just their heart had stopped. I don't know if anyone's recovered from what they call brain death, but I don't know. There have been people that have been on the slab at the mortuary and they pull the string. There's a string that is a very scary thing to know, but it's true. There's a string that hangs over the different bodies in the mortuary area of the hospital, so that in case they happen to be alive, they can pull that string and it alerts the staff, and they go running and like, oh bleep, this person actually isn't dead. We thought they were dead, but they weren't. It happens. So does that mean anything special? No, just we thought they were dead and they weren't. You know. Why do atheists keep insisting that faith is blind trust when that's not what the Christians or the Bible say? Actually, you do say that in the Bible. And as far as what Christians say, every Christian says something different about what faith is. Why don't you tell me what you think faith is? Okay. But it is blind trust. That's the definition of faith that I'm using. What you want to use is a different story. Oh, well, but you're talking to me. You shouldn't use it in this way. Well, if I'm saying that that's what faith is to me, and you want to say it's something different, then just tell me what you think faith is, and we'll have your faith and my faith, and we'll say faith one and faith two, something like that. But at any rate, your Bible does actually say that it's blind trust many times in many different ways. Faith is the evidence of things not seen, blah, 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 whatever that verse is. So you're just lying about what the Bible says. But what do you think faith is? Why not just ask me that instead? Whatever. Why do you want material evidence for immaterial God? Well, you're asserting that God's immaterial. I don't know that that's the case. I would like material evidence because that's something that I can actually observe. So why wouldn't I want it? I have it for just about everything else. Is there a purpose to life? Reproduce? I guess. I mean, if there is, by what standard do you determine life has purpose? Well, that was kind of the scientific answer. It's that, life wants to propagate itself and continue to live. Other than that, it's philosophical, and that just to me means it's up to you to decide what your purpose of life is. Right now, my purpose of life is to answer these questions, just to prove a point. And then my purpose after I do that will be something else. And every moment can be a little mini purpose of its own, but overarching purpose, I don't know. If not, what's the point of listening to this video? Well, it's not a video; it's actually a blog I'm reading. So this is kind of a weird question. What if there's no purpose to life? What's the point of listening or reading your question? There, look, the purpose of life, like, so you say, oh, there's no. If I said there's no purpose to life, why would I answer these questions or something like that? I don't know. I'm not a nihilist, so I can't answer that question. Uh, but maybe just for fun because I enjoy doing it. How's that? Let's say that I believe there was absolutely no purpose, but this gives me great pleasure ponying you into non existence and remarking on the fact that you haven't responded to my video in a year because I don't know why, but you haven't, so I'm irritated about that. And so the point of responding to this is again to prove the point that not only did I respond to it last year, but I'm willing to do so again this year, just to prove the point that you won't answer my answers because I think maybe, just maybe, you're more interested in responding to larger YouTubers and possibly just in hopes that you'll get more views. Not saying that I don't want to get views. I'm not saying that. But I'm open to responding to anybody that I happen to cross my path. And I don't care how many views or subs they have, you know? So, but that's me, you know. You're different. I don't know. Where does morality come from? Humans. How do you define what's right and wrong? Through ethics. When a lion kills a cub from another pride because that's what natural selection has reason to do, is that morally acceptable? Yes. Lions have a different ethical moral system than us humans. If evolution has put a sense of morality into us to help us survive, what makes our actions any better than any other animal actions? It doesn't. They're just different. Our morals are more complex. Um, oh, okay. Well, there you go. I guess that's the end of the video. Finally, God has proven itself through Dave Stewart Tab. But the problem is, which God? That's you know. Anyways, there isn't anything necessary. I mean, better than our actions are just different than other animals. So, but evolution has put, and it's not that evolution has put a sense of morality into us. That's not how it works, by the way. This question is malformed. Make your questions better because evolution of morals have evolved with society, with groups of people. Okay, that's how morals have evolved. So your question would have to be like, well, just what makes our morals? I wouldn't say better. I'd say different than other animals, or something like that. At least that would be, I don't know. Anyways, is it morally acceptable to kill a toddler because you no longer financially support it? Depends what ethical system you follow. Um, if God tells you to, then it's totally fine, right? Um, it's illegal. I wouldn't like it. I would disagree with it. I under my ethical system, it would be wrong. But there are ethical systems where this would be morally acceptable. So, without talking about the ethical systems, because every apologist ever seems to leave that off their list, why not talk about ethics? Why not list all the different ethical systems and then ask me which one I follow, if any, or something like that? Anyways, it's illegal, so in that sense, um, you know, is it morally acceptable to kill a fetus in the womb because you couldn't financially support it? Depends on your ethics. And again, um, you're assuming that this is the only reason. Like there might be other reasons, But if this is your sole goal, well, I mean, I don't know. Depends on your ethics. Depends on your values about such things. Um, there's a whole discussion to be had about abortion. I've had that before on using different ethical systems to try to examine abortion, and the answer can be yes or no in every ethical system. So it's not an easy one to resolve. There's arguments for and against, and some that are actually good arguments against it, rather than the ones that are bad against it. Like, well, but God, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work for me. What else do you got? There's better arguments to be had. Is it morally acceptable baby after it's been born? It depends on what the baby is like. Like, I mean, let's say that you had a baby that wasn't going to last very long and was just going to suffer until they died. I think that it would be better to euthanize it than to have it go through that pain. Now, there's legal ramifications of that, so there are babies born without a brain, and they don't last very long usually. So is it better to end their life than why? There was this one case where this baby was born with just a uh, spinal cord part of the brain, and they live for, I don't know if they're still alive, but they live for a while, but they're never gonna know anything. They're never gonna be able to talk or whatever. They can eat and they can defecate, but that's it. They just don't have the rest of the brain, so they're able to do automatic functions, which includes eating, which is interesting. But uh, is that really something that makes sense to care for an individual like that? Because they're going to require care their entire life, however long they live. I don't know. I don't think it makes sense for that individual doesn't even know that it exists. And so I mean, they're not suffering, so I guess that's something, but they're also not really living. So I think that in that case, it might be better to, end them earlier so that you're, not putting all that time and energy into it. But that mom that decided to keep that baby for however long it lived, and probably didn't live that long. I don't know. I haven't checked on that story in a while, but that was her choice to do that. I don't understand it, but is it morally acceptable that God allowed the creation of a baby that had no brain in the first place? How can you morally differentiate? Oh, yeah, a lot of this is about abortion. He's really got a hang up for about abortion, doesn't he? Between a baby in the womb at 6 months and baby born prematurely at 6 months. I don't know. Um, there's arguments. Like I said, there's arguments to be made both ways. Now, the arguments of when abortion can happen. Abortion is to abort, it means to stop. And so that means stop the pregnancy from occurring. Once it's been C sectioned and or come out of the vagina, it's no longer, you can't abort it because it's too late. It's outside of the body. Okay, once it's outside of the body, it's a different story. There's legal reasons for that. I don't know that whether or not those things make sense is kind of, I don't, but the essentially, if you are concerned that, well, you're able to terminate a baby at 6 months while it's in the womb, but not if they get born. Why is that? Well, it depends. That's how our laws are set up. And there is an argument to be had that those laws might need to be changed. But what if they were changed to say you could also end the life when they're outside of the womb? Now, a lot of people would object to that for many different reasons. But again, what if the baby's suffering? If there's a reason to do it that makes sense from some logical perspective, then yeah. But if there isn't, then maybe no. But then we also have to consider the ramifications of the adoption system as it currently exists. And maybe that needs some fixing. And since many Christian organizations pretty much have the monopoly on those systems, maybe they need to fix the damn systems that they run or help support financially. And maybe some of us atheists need to, start our own agencies somehow. I'm not sure how we would do that, but at any rate, there needs to be better uh, adoption systems in place. Anyways, who was Jesus? Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a made-up character that Paul came up with just to irritate you. I don't know, some guy. I don't care about him. Why does his disciples die saying he rose from the dead? They didn't die saying that. Why does the people keep lining up with their archaeology? It doesn't. Not even a little. Why do the three bloodiest regimes in history, Mao, China, Nazi Germany, and Stalin's Russia, come from atheistic ideas? They don't. Mao's China doesn't stem from that. Nazi is actually all about God with us. It says on their buckles. Read some history and learn stuff, you idiot. Catholic Church was like, hey, yeah, you go, guys. They still haven't, by the way, ever condemned or what do you call it? Not what's the thing called? Where they purge you from the Catholic Church, but like Hitler was, yeah, Catholic or you know. So and then Stalin, nothing to do. None of these are atheist in nature. Uh, so Stalin and Mao both enforced non-religion, but I don't know that that's the same as atheism. And then, of course, being bloody is irrelevant. Like, oh, we had more kills than you did. Well, la di da. Muslims have more kills than, altogether than anyone. That doesn't make somebody right or wrong. How many people died as a result doesn't make something true or false. But the fact that you're wrong about this shows me that you don't know diddly squat. Okay, so that's the answers to these questions that you won't answer or respond to again, Adherent Apologetics, and I expect that I won't hear from you on my previous video or this video or any other videos that I do. We had our debate. You did the shotgun tactics because you don't want to play fair. And what's interesting about that debate is basically I couldn't get you to do it, but you admitted that there isn't any evidence at all for God or test. Rather, you said that there's people that think that it's okay not to have evidence or tests for science. That's fine. Okay. So there's more people that are also wrong out there that happen to agree with you. Well, la di da. That mean but that doesn't change the point that I was trying to make. And yes, there was actually a fallacy in my syllogism. But see, I am actually willing and able to admit that I had an error in my argument. Are you willing to do the same with the three arguments that you presented that aren't even original or yours? Mine was mine, at least. Yours are regurgitated nonsense. Come up with something original. And for goodness sake, shave your eyebrows just a little bit. Anyways, but he's not going to respond or listen to this video, so it doesn't really matter. But I just wanted to complain about the fact that it's been a year. He said he was going to do something. He still hasn't. He still won't. And take of it what you will. Thanks for listening. Good night.